and subscribe.
Hey kid, today we are celebrating a very strange day on our calendar, February 2nd, also known as Groundhog Day. And that's a day where we let a particular rodent tell us the weather. And we believe them.
You think that's something? You should know that I can forecast if there's pizza within 10 miles of my nose.
Well, that is impressive, White Rat, and actually quite handy. There is no White Rat Day, so...
Your loss. Besides, that means more pizza for me.
So the most famous groundhog who predicts the weather on February 2nd is known as Punxsutawney Phil.
Is Phil short for Philip?
Yes, probably.
Is Punxsutawney short for Punks?
No. Where was I?
Groundhog Day!
Oh, yes. Okay. So, Groundhog Day. We're used to Phil, right? But he's not the only one who predicts the weather in Groundhog Land, because we have Gretchen Groundhog. It's your day! Because if you think about it, why should Phil have all the forecasting fun, right? Let's go. Gretchen Groundhog, it's your day. Fa la 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 la. It was a dark and snowy night. Gretchen Groundhog sat in her burrow. In a few days, it would be February 2nd when the world would be watching in the little town of Piccadilly. So, instead of Phil in Punxsutawney, we have Gretchen in Piccadilly. Got it? On that day, for the first time, Gretchen would step from her burrow to stand before the TV cameras, the newspaper reporters, the tourists, all the townsfolk, and a brass band. A brass band! How festive. Everyone would be waiting as Gretchen looked for her shadow. And here's Gretchen inside the burrow. And there she's been dutifully crossing off every day in January because the day is approaching fast. And I noticed that there is a poem on the wall by Percy Bysshe Shelley, only one of my favorite poets. Oh, wind, if winter comes, can spring be far behind? From Ode to the West Wind. The cozy fire is on, and they're ready to print up stuff, and they even have like a phone line and internet down in the burrows. For as long as she could remember, it had been Great Uncle Gus who searched for his shadow before the anxious crowd. If he saw it, there would be a roar of disappointment. So disappointed, for this meant winter would last 6 more dreary weeks. The band would play slow, sad music. So sad. And Gus would trudge back into his burrow, and everybody would leave super depressed because more winter. Now, if there was no shadow, the band would play a lively tune. And everyone would hug and cheer. Spring was around the corner. Yay! Smiles everywhere. And now there's probably going to be a whole dance party. But now, Great Uncle Gus was too old. It was up to Gretchen, his only relative, to carry on. I can't do it, Gretchen told her great uncle. What? What do you mean you can't do it? It's like an important tradition. I'm just too shy. I can't stand there with everyone looking at me. You can do it, said Great Uncle Gus. The first time is always the hardest. But Gretchen knew she could not go out. Why can't she go out? Is she agoraphobic? Oh, that was a big word. Oh, yes. Okay, Dill. Agoraphobic is a big word. That means that maybe you're afraid to leave your house. Yep. Because you're also afraid of crowds. Yep. So, since she doesn't want to go out, maybe she's agoraphobic? Whoa! Okay. So, maybe? Because why would she not want to go out? Gretchen's not going out! The news flashed throughout Piccadilly. Everybody looks incredibly alarmed, and this is cause for running and arm stretching and things like that. What will we do? The townfolk asked each other.
Oh, no! Obviously, the best course of action is for everyone to panic.
On January 30th, there was a story about Gretchen on the front page of the Piccadilly Post, and it read, Piccadilly, puzzled, puzzled. The headline screamed, and then the story continued. There has always been a Groundhog Day in Piccadilly, but this year it seems Gretchen Groundhog will not go out. How will we plan if we do not know when winter will end? The townfolk stopped Gretchen on the street. They peppered her with questions.
Did they throw pepper at her?
No, they just peppered her with questions. Oh.
Should we buy more salt to put on the icy roads?
Asked the mayor. A father asked, shall I chop more wood for my family? And there he is, carrying around his wood-chopping axe. When can the bears stop hibernating? Asked the little boy, and the bear's like, when?
Wait a minute, I don't hibernate.
Well, all bears hibernate, except green bears.
Because I'm special.
And also pink bears and red bears and abuela bears never hibernate. There is no sleeping in KidTime StoryTime like ever. Back to the story. Please, everyone begged, please, dear Gretchen, go out on Groundhog Day. Tell us when winter will end. But Gretchen only shook her head. Okay, so she's not clearly agoraphobic, that big word that means she doesn't want to leave her house or be in large crowds, because she has clearly left her house and is among a crowd of people. So what's the deal, Gretchen? I mean, you have a family tradition and people are counting on you. And even if we're afraid sometimes, you have to stick your courage to the sticking place. And that's what Shakespeare wrote. Yes, that is exactly what Shakespeare wrote. To take your courage and screw it to the sticking place. Because sometimes we just have to be courageous even if we're not feeling it. On January 31st, Gretchen lit a cheery fire. Look at it go, and there's a pot of something brewing in there. But it did not help her mood. All day, the doorbell chimed, ding ding. The phone rang, ring ring. Emails erupted, bloop, 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 bloop. And urgent letters just kept plopping through that mail slot. Gretchen felt terrible. It seemed like the longest day of her life. And what did it say here? You have mail. Let's see. It's to, let me look at the fine print here. It says Gretchen@borough.com. I'm sure that's a real email address. Gretchen, please go out on Groundhog Day. And you see all those exclamation points, like way too many to count. That means they're serious, yo. Serious. Like seriously, Gretchen, you have to go out. On February 1st, the town was in an uproar. An uproar. Do you hear the uproar? There's an uproar. Tourists filled the motels. In front of Gretchen's borough, carpenters were building wooden stands for the crowd. The TV crew had arrived from WGHN, reporting live on the scene of Groundhog Day. Will Gretchen come out? Will it be a groundhog or a ground wolf? The TV crews had arrived, and the band was practicing with squawky sounds. Groundhog Day was only hours away. Piccadilly panicked, read the Post. Soon the eyes of the world will be upon us. What will happen if Gretchen does not go out? Will Groundhog Day be grounded? Will Groundhog be a ground dud? Oh, I could go on. Oh, storyteller, this may be the worst case of stage fright I have ever seen. Olivia the Ostrich, star of stage and screen. Have you ever had such a terrible case of stage fright? Never? Okay. So some people are just born for the stage, others not so much. 3 townfolk, 1, 2, 3, were waiting when Gretchen opened her borough door. Oh, you must try, Gretchen, said the town historian. There has always been a Groundhog Day in Piccadilly. Oh, do, Gretchen. I'll stand beside you, said the chief of police. I'll make you famous, said the editor of the Post, the Piccadilly Post, no less. But Gretchen only shook her head. What is up with Gretchen?
Ooh, ooh, ooh.
Oh, I think you're right, Hootie. I didn't even think about that. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Yeah, that's gotta be it. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Here I was thinking that Gretchen just was falling down on the job because she just didn't want to do it because. And Hootie brought up an amazing point. Maybe Gretchen is afraid of failing at the new job since she's never done it before. And who among us has not been afraid to do something we have never, ever done before? Especially in front of so many people watching. Okay, I understand now. I understand that this is the journey that Gretchen is taking us on. Hopefully we'll get to the other side. We will see. All afternoon and evening, the visitors came. Gretchen, are you there? Gretchen? That night, weary and sad, Gretchen fell asleep in her rocking chair, but she heard the townfolk, even in her dreams. Please, Gretchen, open the door. Oh. Gretchen awoke, but the knocking did not stop. She hurried to the door and looked out the peephole, and there, on the moonlight snow, stood, a little girl. It was Hester, the town historian's daughter. Oh, remember we saw her earlier at the door with the guy from the post and the chief of police? This is the daughter. Okay. May I come in? Hester asked. So Gretchen opened the door, let her in. She helped Hester take off her coat, soggy mittens, and wet boots and muffler. Oh, that, whatever is boiling over that hot fire must be ready by now, and I could really use a tasty mug of something. I won't stay long, Hester said. I wanted you to see these. I found them while I was helping my mother. She held out a wooden box with some yellowed pieces of paper in it. Gretchen could see that they had old-fashioned writing on them. What's this? Gretchen asked. Records from our town history, Hester explained. Well, because she has access since her mom's a historian. While Great Uncle Gus made cups of steaming cocoa. Oh, yes, cocoa! I'm definitely down for that. I am so cold right now. Gretchen studied the first piece of paper. Tomorrow I must go out, it read, to stand before the pilgrims and the Indians. I am greatly afeared. It was signed, Goody Groundhog. And Gretchen was amazed. Goody Groundhog lived a long time ago. She came to America on the Mayflower before there was a Piccadilly. My mother said Goody told everyone the second winter would be better than the first, said Hester. They were glad. Whoa, we are going back in Groundhog history. Gretchen leafed through the papers. Here's one by George Groundhog at Valley Forge, she exclaimed. He says, I am affrighted to go out, but I shall. The winter has been long and hard. The soldiers must know what will be. My mother said George told him that the winter would go on a long time, said Hester. Everyone was very sad. As Gretchen read through the papers, she became more and more excited. There was a page from brave General Grant Groundhog, who had fought in the Civil War, and Gene Groundhog, the tough cowboy, and his trusty steed, and Gloria Groundhog, who became a movie star. They were all afraid to go out, Gretchen said like this. That's right, shocking. Also, adorable bunny slippers. She read the last piece of paper. I am scared, but tomorrow I will try to go out, it said. It was signed, Gus Groundhog. You? Said Gretchen to Great Uncle Gus. Her great uncle looked surprised. Then a dreamy look came into his eyes. Oh, it was so long ago. I had forgotten it, he said. Now I remember. I couldn't eat or sleep the night before. What happened then? My great Uncle Grover helped me, said Gus. He said, you can do it, Gus. The first time is always the hardest.
Did you hear that groundhog wisdom? Which conveniently also happens to apply to humans. The first time is always the hardest and the scariest. I think maybe she's getting a cue from the past to go into the future.
The clock began to chime. 9, 10, 11, 12. They counted together. Oh my gosh, I've got to go, Hester said. I've never stayed up so late. Thank you for everything, Hester, Gretchen said. And she and Hester gave each other a big hug. Gretchen went to bed and lay quietly in the darkness. She thought about the next morning, all about the townfolk gathered, the TV cameras, the crowds, the blaring of the band, which sounds really exciting. She turned on the light, wrote a few lines on a piece of paper, put it in the history box. Then she closed her eyes and fell asleep. Is she contributing to groundhog history already? I'm going to turn the page. Going to have some faith that Gretchen found her courage and put it in the sticking place. Let's go. Gretchen's dreams were peaceful. She was awoken by the sound of voices and the squeaks of the band tuning up. The band is here! She put on her coat and muffler, boots and mittens. She took a deep breath. That always helps settle the nerves, you know. You can do it, she whispered to herself. Then Gretchen Groundhog flung open the door and stepped out into the February morning. And look at that WGHB. It's getting the shot of her emerging triumphantly. The band is already getting ready to go. Everybody's cheering because Gretchen has come out. She went out. And the post reads, Piccadilly, pleased and proud. Gretchen goes out.
But what was the forecast?
1,000 years of winter.
That doesn't sound right. But, you know, I smell 1,000 years of pizza, so see you later.
We really should have a white rat day. So now you know. You have to find your courage and put it to the sticking place, just like Shakespeare said, and just like Gretchen did. And as for all of you, happy Groundhog Day! I am hoping for spring.